What's the craziest blackout drunk experience you've ever been told you've done? They said I bought a hot tub online worth about $600. Checked my Amazon and found out they were right. I woke up in a police cell. When you wake up in a police cell with no recollection of what crime you have committed, you start to panic very quickly. I stood up and at that moment realized not only was I in a police cell, I was also naked. I put my clothes on and stood around waiting for someone to come and talk to me. A policewoman walks in smiling and eating a packet of crisps. She puts the crisps down and tells me to put my hands out so she can handcuff me. I do this while asking why I was here, to which she says you're about to find out. She walks me into a room with another policeman in it, who tells me to sit down and drink some water. He then tells me why I was there, which goes a little like this. I was walking home from a night out when I went into a small supermarket and proceeded to eat some olives. I don't even like olives, and some chocolate bread. I then picked up some chicken breasts and left with them, putting them in the bin outside the shop. As I was continuing my walk home, the policeman I was now talking to pulled up in front of me to arrest me, at which point I decided it would be a good idea to try and run away. I got about 10 meters before I ran into a bush and fell over. After he had finished, he asked if I wanted to see the evidence. I said yes. He then got up a CCTV image of me in the supermarket with a packet of olives in one hand, a big smile and a thumbs up with my other hand. I ducked up. Edit. Everybody is very interested to know, so I will clarify that I am from England. Crisps more than chips. Also, I was naked because I always sleep naked, and apparently in my drunken state of mind I thought it would be okay to sleep naked in jail too. Thirdly, the police were all very nice to me. A policewoman told me my shirt was very nice and another gave me a Nutri-Grain bar. I got a fine and a warning. It is not something I have to declare, nor will it come up in a standard check. Lastly, I'm glad I have amused too many with my story. This happened last December and my mum still offers me an olive every time she sees me. I hopped on a bus to Kansas because, and this was quoted back to me when I called my brother for help getting back, I want to find out if there's more corn in that hole than Iowa. Edit. There wasn't more corn. I'm not from Iowa. Sorry about that. Arkansas. It was a strange trip. I once passed out in the middle of the road in the fetal position and was nearly run over by a woman delivering newspapers. The woman stopped and tried waking me up, but I was unresponsive. When the cops arrived, they were able to wake me up, and when I was asked how much I had to drink, I simply responded, "You're looking at it." The police then charged me with disorderly conduct and took me home. I had no recollection of what fully happened until it was in the newspaper. I was about to get my tonsils out a few years ago. I'm 29 now, and my brother, who is on his way to prison as we speak, insisted on getting me it-faced at least once before the surgery. So he proceeds to take me to all his spots, introduce me to his friends, all the while slamming Red Bull vodkas. At some point I black out, but vaguely remember a ratty strip club for a few seconds, and then waking up the next day. He told me that I got us kicked out of the itty strip club in the city by standing up and saying, "How much does it cost to duck someone in here, because I know that's how this works." We were having a pool party. I live in Brazil. A friend that lived in Europe brought her 80% alcohol absinthe. I had 3 shots of those, plus beers and it. Last thing I remember was 10 AM. Fast forward to 8 PM. I'm alone, inside the pool, partying, just waving my arms in the air. No music playing, no one around. I stop, think about what I was doing, and realize everybody went to bed about an hour ago. Later, I'm told that, at noon, we ran out of ice. So someone offered to go buy some at the supermarket. I offered to go with him. Keep in mind I was only wearing my underwear, because I was in the pool. When we get there, he tells me to stay in the car because I'm on my underwear. So, he enters the supermarket, and, after 5 minutes, he sees me, holding a bag of ice, in the cashier line, waiting for my turn, in my underwear. Everybody was looking at me, and I'm like, what a lovely day, not realizing what was happening. We buy the ice and leave. Edit. Clarification. A mate of mine caught a huge seagull and held onto it as it pecked the duck out of his hands. then threw it screeching through the door of the pub he'd just been kicked out of, and we bolted. We woke up the next morning and he says, "What the duck happened to my hands?" I've no idea what happened in the pub, but I suspect it was quite amusing. High school graduation party. I was drinking liquor and had moved on to high proof moonshine when the police raided the party. I ran along with 100 or so other partygoers, leaping over fences in the process to hide, except when the police finally left after issuing the people who stayed minor under the influence tickets. I didn't return with everyone else. Apparently I had kept running for miles. I have some tiny snippets of memories of hiding in shadows and ditches from police with flashlights, squad cars spotlights, and being yelled at to stop, but that's about it. I was found by pure luck 3 hours later, something like 12 miles away, when I apparently recognized the sound of a friend's aftermarket exhaust on a nearby road and burst out of the woods to flag him down. Supposedly, not long after leaving the house, the cops had spread out and set up a perimeter around the neighborhood, and were looking to catch someone in a blue collared shirt who had fled on foot, and had outrun a number of officers, avoided several attempts at being corralled. I'm almost certain it was me. When I was found, I was covered in sticks, live branches, and dirt, and I had smeared mud on my shirt, face, arms, and in my hair as camouflage, and was completely and utterly incoherent. I had apparently attempted to make an impromptu ghillie suit while evading capture. I threw up in the backseat of my friend's car, promptly fell asleep, and had to be carried like a human couch up a flight of stairs. While being carried I projectile vomited on the walls of the stairwell, until my friends got me upstairs where they immediately stripped me, put me in a cold bathtub, ordered me to bathe, helped me dry off, and then put me in bed. My mom was so happy that we actually had a DD for the party, that she didn't give me any it about it, though I never told her I turned into a blackout drunk version of Arnold at the end of Predator, to run from the police. Other highlights include the guy who bought the kegs hiding inside the drop ceiling to avoid detection, another friend dislocating a shoulder in the initial fence jump immediately following the shouting of cops, students from another rival school showing up and discharging a gun in front of the house of kid who threw the party, who didn't even attend our school, being completely destroyed, and the one friend who didn't run being put on probation and community service. It too. There's a photo of me drinking from the flask that contained the moonshine. Might have been Everclear for all I know. A few minutes before things took a turn for the crazy, and I am staring straight out into space with a very determined look on my face. Here's the picture. I just realized that I'm wearing a Bangerja pin on my shirt where the little stitched logo should be. Edit 3. Thanks for the gold. : When I was a freshman in college, I didn't know how to hold my liquor, and being a 5 feet 2 tall girl, it hit me quicker than a lot of my friends. I remember nothing, but my friends told me they couldn't find me at a co-op house party and started freaking out. They found me on the front lawn having an in-depth conversation with a cop and a guy collecting cans. Apparently we were all laughing. The cop shook my hand and said have a great school year, and left, and I promptly vomited into some bushes. I would give any amount of money to know what my blackout 18-year-old self was talking about, and why the cop didn't charge me with an MIP. Edit. So many guesses as to where this happened. You're all wrong. It was MSU. Go green. Double edit. Willie the Canned Man. I drank a fifth of whiskey, drunkenly stole another fifth of whiskey, drank that fifth of whiskey, fell down a flight of stairs, collapsed on a university lawn, puked on my friend's bed, and died, in that order. Had to be revived by paramedics. I don't remember any of it. My friends had to tell me about it later. Would not do again. Edit. I just want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support that everyone's been sending me. I've said this in the comments, but for anyone just joining, I just want to clear some stuff up. After this night, I did go to therapy and counseling to get sober and take control over my life. Nowadays, alcohol doesn't have power over me like it used to. Yay. I finished school and I'm currently a mental health worker, helping people with their own addictions and other mental illnesses. I do not plan on wasting my second chance. Thank you again everyone. Oh boy, I have been waiting for this one. I went to a Halloween party at some bar back in 2012. I was in university at the time. I was visiting my friend's school for the party. After finishing a bottle of tequila, this what my friends told me I did at the party the following morning. Bought random strangers over $200 in drinks. I still don't know where this money came from. Some girl was being very rude to my friend. Apparently, I stuck my foot out and tripped her. While she was on the ground, I went right up to her face and yelled, "This is what happens when you duck a stranger in the ass." Apparently, I tore down some velvet curtains because who knows why. The security guards were chasing while I was yelling, "Hee hee hee, you will never catch the goblin." Chugged a beer and apparently projectile vomited all over the dance floor. Needless to say, I was a bit of a D that night. I woke up in my friend's bed the next morning and asked him how I got there. He told me I sprinted all the way home and then tucked myself in. 4/10 would recommend. Edit. Spelling. I apparently once lifted a couch cushion like it was a toilet seat. Then proceeded to vomit into the toilet. Closed the lid and went to sleep on the toilet. One time I woke up and itched at my friends for all eating jello shots without me. Then they politely informed me that they didn't have any. And I ate all of them. Not much. Once I woke up after having a drinking contest with a 40-something punk rocker named Jake. I was 17 at the time and not much of a drinker anyway, so I was obliterated. No memory of the night before except puking with Jake in the bushes in front of my friend's apartment, where I was staying for a week during a road trip. Check my social media. This was like 2000, so I checked my live journal. There was a message from me to me. "Hey, I know you won't remember in the morning, but you had some pretty mediocre sex with a girl named April last night. You weren't any good in bed. Insert friend name. Walked in on you, but she's probably not mad you were ducking in her bed. Don't drink anymore." At my friend's 18th about 10 years ago, I had stupidly mixed heavy alcohol with the medication I was taking at the time. I think it was fluvoxamine. For gad. I remember joking around with my friends one moment. Then the next I was cowering in the corner. Tears streaming down my face with several worried friends around me. I snapped out of it with something like, "Oh, hey guys." Apparently I had been sitting in the corner screaming out the name and phone number of the guy I had a crush on at the time. Good thing he wasn't at that party. Q. I once woke up on my friend's couch wearing the clothes she was wearing was the night before. A few minutes after I woke up, her boyfriend walked into the lounge room wearing the clothes that I was wearing. Cut someone in line for pizza in New Orleans and they wanted to fight me, but I was too oblivious to even know someone was trying to fight me. I remember the pizza line, but not the danger. In Norway we have this tradition called Russ, where the graduate students dress up in red, blue, black or white pants, drinking for 17 days. The 1st of May, 17, and we have exams as well. I woke up drunk with a bottle of vodka under my teacher's desk. On my exam day, I do not really remember it that well, but the teacher let me take the exam. Some friends told me that we were in some girl's Russ van, drinking the whole night, and that they dropped me outside the school 1 hour before the exam. Pissed on my friend's suitcase, and when I was confronted mid-pee I justified it by claiming I was just pissing on this vacuum. Don't worry. Arrived home, took off my jeans in my kitchen but put my shoes back on. Then proceeded to head to bed. As I passed my dad's room he was on his way to the bathroom and asked where my jeans were. I looked down and began to have a miniature panic attack because I thought I had left them in the taxi on my way home, along with my belongings. This has happened a number of times. I woke in bed with a very large bowl of spaghetti bolognese spilled under the covers with me. Bought tickets for a Black Eyed Peas concert. Edit. Found out the next day when my friend called me all excited and it about going to see them. Edit 2. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. 3 years here and you popped my cherry. I'd tell a blackout story of my own, but it couldn't possibly compare to that of my incredibly lightweight friend. He got white boy wasted on a group trip to Vegas about 3 years ago. Woke up in the backseat of a stranger's car on a street several blocks away from his hotel. The stranger was not in the car. My friend had just gotten sleepy while on a drunken midnight stroll and started trying car doors until he found one unlocked and hopped in for a nap. He decided it was too chilly to walk home in his shirt from the night before, so he put on the hoodie left lying in the car by its owner and walked back to the hotel. When he arrived, he checked the pockets and found a Ted Baker watch in the pocket. Freaked his it and dropped both the watch and the hoodie down the laundry chute and hyperventilated about getting deported for about half an hour. For some reason he's embarrassed when we bring it up, but I think I'd consider it a point of pride if it were me. I danced twice at the bar and ripped a urinal off the wall on a dare. Don't recall any of it. I left my friend at a party as he was hooking up with a girl. When she got so drunk she was lying on the floor and grabbing random guys' feet as they walked past and asking them if she was pretty. He settled for a bottle of vodka. He called me at 5 AM with this eternal phrase, "Hey, 2 midgets and a duster. I think I'm in a bit of a bind." He found himself driving 120 down a lonely, unfamiliar highway. As he was looking around for an idea of where he was, he veered off the road, taking out 7 wooden pylons, the meter-high wooden stumps that are supposed to stop people driving into a designated area, and came to a stop. I went to pick him up and found him asleep in the middle of a grass field about an hour's drive in the wrong direction from the party, in a car with no bumper and 3 flat tires. He still doesn't remember anything up until moments before veering off the highway. Edit. To clarify, I left the party and went home safely. I wasn't drinking. My friend left the party he had planned on staying the night at and getting into this mess. So I was with some buddies of mine celebrating my 22nd birthday and we were drinking at my place, which I live on the 2nd story of apartment 4plex, and all I remember is setting up some beer pong. I don't even remember playing beer pong, just pulling out the red solo cups and opening up the beer. Everything else has been told to me by others that were there, but essentially the moral of the story is I was so drunk I had missed the stairs by turning to go down them several steps early, fell off that balcony and landed on the concrete sidewalk below, breaking my left hip and my jaw in 2 places. I was so blackout drunk and confused that I was fighting kicking with my good leg and punching throughout the whole ER experience, and until they heavily medicated me almost to the point of induced coma. I woke up with a clear head finally 5 days later in post-surgery recovery. Funniest part is I now work at that same hospital. Edits. For elaboration, clarity and formatting. Got completely destroyed on an impromptu pub crawl. Woke up in another country. Apparently the ferry from Stockholm to Turku is perfectly fine with borderline comatose passengers booking tickets and boarding. Well, not me, but I was talking to 3 Finnish chicks once, all sisters, and they said they bought a damn goat off some Finnish website that apparently sells goats. It showed up 3 days later, and they ended up giving it to their cousin who knew how to take care of goats. I did the tuck and roll out of a cab. Not me, but a friend of mine said he got drunk and ate a load of salad, like non-stop, just devouring salad. The next morning he wakes up with heads of lettuce all around him and he has no idea how they got there. One time, my friend and I were studying on a Saturday for an exam that we had on Monday. We told ourselves that we were not going to drink that night as we wanted to be prepared for the exam. After about 4 hours of studying, 8 PM rolls around and we're feeling pretty damn good about the material and stop studying. We had a party at our house the night before and check one of our mini fridges, and what do ya know? 3/4 left of some cheap plastic bottle vodka left. We say duck it. Let's drink. We didn't have any chasers except some flavored sparkling water and use that for mixed drinks. After that handle of vodka we decided to head to a party and stop by the store and grab a 4 Loko and decide to each chug one before we get to the party. I had been hooking up with this girl who lived next door to the party and said perfect and just crashed thereafter. Ended up blacking out, and my friend told me the next morning that I started pissing all over the garage door of the house who threw the party, which happened to be a Hawaiian's house, and was screaming, "Duck Hawaiians. California for life," as I am a California native. End up going to the girl's house next door to be woken up the next morning to her telling me that I woke up in the middle of the night, walked to her closet thinking it was the bathroom and pissed in her laundry basket full of clothes. Geez, that was a rough morning. Sophomore in high school. Virgin. Woke up in a random bed in a random house with 4 naked chicks. Edit. I was gonna leave the rest to your guys' imagination. But it turns out that we all got super drunk and I was the only one to black out. 2 of the girls pissed themselves, which is why they decided to get naked. I ended up passing out before the fun times started and ended up sleeping in a puddle of piss. I don't know how the other girls got naked. Oh, and there was a random dog in the room that nobody knew anything about. It's what woke me up the next morning. A few friends and I traveled to Cleveland to see a show in a dive bar. After the show the crowd just left the bar, leaving pretty much just us and the band. So we ended up having a true rockstar night boozing with one of our favorite bands. So I hit blackout mode and suddenly woke up the next morning. According to my friends, I entered our hotel room and beelined for the bathroom. As soon as I hit the threshold I projectile vomited, hitting the ceiling, walls, shower, toilet, sink, you name it, I puked on it. They sat outside listening to me dry heaving for a bit. They said I eventually burst out of the vomit coated bathroom. Told them I wasn't finished and left the hotel room. 5 minutes later I reappeared with bleach and paper towels and locked myself in the bathroom. When I came back out a while later I had completely detailed every square inch of the bathroom like it was a crime scene cleanup, insisting that nobody but me should have to deal with other people's mess. I then passed out cold for 7 hours. I got it faced and puked everywhere. No one will ever know. I was entirely convinced that I had never played Cluedo to our American cousins. However, my friends assured me that I once played it while completely at-faced, and won. On the same occasion, I was, apparently, eating muesli with vodka instead of milk. My 21st birthday, my friends thought it'd be great for me to have 21 shots of tequila with them. I was drinking cider, woke up the following day, having kissed the barmaid, had a long, deep conversation with a girl I worked with, who then followed up days later with a birthday card and letter inside about how meaningful the conversation was. Somehow thought those many fragrance bottles in the vending machines in the toilet were the best thing ever, and showed them to half the bar. Got asked to leave by the bouncer, snuck back in, got thrown out, got home, fell asleep, and was told most of this by my girlfriend the following day. My girlfriend who, when I was looking for water, had been giving me vodka and white lemonade, and who somehow thought the hangover was funny. No memory of any of it. My friends and I all got kicked out of a bar when we went to Canada. I was the only girl in our group. We apparently went to Hooters after that. I guess I thought it was a strip club and I somehow knew you are allowed to touch the strippers in Canada. When our waitress came over I guess I just grabbed her tits. I didn't believe that this happened until I checked my purse in the morning and found my receipt had a phone number and a winky face. During my first party at college, I'm pretty much a lightweight. We started mixing strong drinks and about 4 or 5 and I blacked out. Found out the next morning that I had ordered a broccoli pizza, ate most of it, then proceeded to vomit it all up. Last thing I remember is lying on the ground next to my almost equally as drunk best friend. Only seconds before I vomited, another guy who I had met earlier that night who I got along with well ended up using the pizza box to scrape my puke off of carpet bulldozer style. What a great way to start my college experience. I used a pack of gum as an ID to get into a club and I bumped into a security guard and didn't realize it. I remember waking up the night after a student house party and looking for a takeaway to nurse me back to full HP on the Google Chrome app. My most recent search was CN Dwarves 6, so obviously I was like, WTF does that even mean? Apparently I had been trying to get freaky with a really small girl on my course. Don't drink and drugs, kids. Edit. Spelling. I got so drunk I forgot I took acid. I remember snapshots from the ordeal. Around sunrise I ran across a stray dog in the front yard going through all the debris left over from the party. Naturally I tried to check its tag to see where he was from. Merlin was his name and he was an Irish wolfhound that belonged to someone that worked for the university who never leashed him. Merlin was also probably one of 5 mean as duck wolfhounds in existence. He attacked me but luckily just shredded my genes. I then punched Merlin a handful of times in the face and he ran off. My very helpful friends who were also trashed made me crash on their floor after that. The only reason I really believed them the following day was because my pants were indeed destroyed. Hand hurt like it. I always check stray dogs and cats. And lastly, I have met Merlin before and he is indeed a massive asshole. Only check a dog's tag if he weighs less than you. Also, don't approach animals on LSD. I've walked 10 miles while heavily intoxicated at night before. Everyone likes to tell the story of the time when I couldn't find the sink. I had one too many screwdrivers, OJ plus vodka, and I wasn't feeling well. So I grabbed the trash can in the kitchen, ready to vomit. Some friends were telling me to turn around and use the sink. They meant the kitchen sink. It was literally 2 feet behind me and it would be easy to wash out the kitchen sink. I thought they were telling me to turn around, walk down the hall to the guest bathroom and use the sink in that room. I thought they were crazy, but it was a case of miscommunication. It's hard to reason with a drunk guy sometimes. Unfortunately, the trash bag I found was one of those paper ones you get from the supermarket. Paper bags plus liquid contents equals a huge mess. Fortunately, I have a very good, understanding friend and he gets to beg for favors, like a car ride to the airport, for a long time in exchange for cleaning up my mess. I was 16, living in Shanghai as an expat. School had just ended, meaning it was time to celebrate. The celebration, naturally, consisted of a metric duck ton of weed and a 1L bottle of vodka each. Before heading to the bar, as is tradition, once at the bar, my friend, who is just as ducked up, hands me an open bottle of beer and tells me to drink it, which I happily oblige to. Once I finish, he and a few other friends go absolutely mental screaming it was piss. I pissed in the bottle, dude. It takes a few seconds for me to process this, and when I do I promptly begin to projectile vomit onto the floor. We get thrown out by angry Chinese men and get in a taxi. I then proceed to speak in a thick southern accent about how the world is doomed because people reject our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This rant continues for half an hour. The thing is that I've never even been to the American South, and when this happened I was an atheist. It was a fun night. I apologize in advance for length, but I think it's all necessary. A month into my first year at college, I walked around the big party spots with some friends looking to get into one. We did not. I spent the entire time taking swigs of Admiral Nelson and chasing it with coke. I'm a huge lightweight, so I got unreal ducked up and quick. Next thing I knew, my buddy said I was bleeding from my head. I have no recollection of falling and no one else witnessed me get wounded somehow. Finally, my friend decides I should go back to our dorm, so we make the trek back and we are about as close as possible and a police officer pulls over to talk to me on account of my bleeding and stumbling. Apparently I said I was born in 06 instead of 96, and when the cop jokingly asked if I was 8, I said yes. They handcuffed me and took me to the drunk tank in the campus police station, and I woke up in the cell with an assless scrub that they give to patients in hospitals on and no pants because I threw up on them and they had me remove them. When they finally let me go the next morning, the cop asked me if Mickey Mouse is a cat or a dog. I said he's a mouse. Duh. And then he said, oh good. Last night you said he was a cat. Yup. What I do when I'm blackout drunk is none of my goddamn business.